This is the Oculus Quest 2. We've all seen it before, and this is the Pico Neo 3. $300 versus $350. 3 clicks for IPD adjustment. 3664 by 1920 resolution. 3664 by 1920 resolution. Snapdragon XR2, Snapdragon XR2. I think you guys get the point by now. This is China's, and more properly, Asia's Quest 2. And actually, Facebook could learn a lot from it, because in my opinion, the Neo 3 isn't just some clone. I actually prefer the device in some ways. Only one problem: you can't actually buy one. Let me explain. Welcome to another episode of Virtually Odd, the series where I look at weird VR hardware, new or old, because we all know there have been some really odd VR stuff throughout the years. Today, we have a very mysterious VR headset, probably one of the most interesting pieces of hardware to release in the past couple years. In terms of size, weight, shape, and specs, it looks like an Oculus Quest 2, just about the most recognizable VR headset in the world, except in one place: China. Quest 2 is a device by Oculus, which is owned by Facebook. The Quest 2 even requires a Facebook account to even function, and there's one big problem with that. Facebook is essentially banned in China, so that means no Quest 2. Now, something really interesting here is that similarly on the other side of the coin, the Pico Neo 3 is nearly impossible to get anywhere outside of Asia. And if it weren't for help from Pico directly, there's honestly no way I could have even shown you this headset. So this video isn't a typical hardware review. Of course, I'll get deep into the specs of the Neo 3, what it is, and what it does better and worse than its cousin, the Quest 2, but this is also a story of why this isn't coming to the Western market and how it's actually helping Western VR developers share their games and apps around the world. A world with very disconnected hardware coming together through software. So this is actually my first Pico device ever, besides testing a Pico Neo 2 very briefly about a year ago. I really had no idea what to expect, but I was really happy with the unboxing experience. 2 controllers, a headset, and some wrist straps. But looking at the headset, I was really impressed by the overall build quality and construction of it. Plus, in my opinion, it looks pretty sleek. Stark white and black contrast with an actual air vent. Like, this isn't for looks, that's an actual air vent. With the dark gray head strap, this design is just really eye-catching, and to be frank, the stark white makes the Quest 2 gray look kind of like a Commodore 64. Just looks a little dingy right next to the Neo. There certainly are a lot more buttons on the Neo as well that allow you to select things without a controller since there's no hand tracking. Featuring the volume on the bottom, power button on the top, and 3 additional buttons on the side. Also, the USB-C charging port works as a Thunderbolt 3 that allows for NVIDIA's direct mode that supports full resolution of the headset at 90 Hz. So no Oculus Link compression, although Cloud XR and wireless streaming over 5 GHz is still possible. And this head strap is super interesting. Thick Velcro side straps and 2 top straps made of a stretchy rubber-like material, but most importantly, a built-in counterweight and head cushion. Now, I gotta talk all about this because I really love this head strap, but I'll talk about it soon. In terms of ergonomics, these controllers leave a little to be desired. While the overall idea is the same as the Touch 3 controllers in terms of button layout and looks, the buttons definitely don't feel as nice. They're responsive and they aren't mushy, but they are a little plasticky and loud. And plasticky is a good way to describe the controllers in general. They just feel light and creaky and, well, plastic. And I think that's due to the ergonomic design of these controllers. They're long and have a wedge shape that is kind of uncomfortable to hold. It's almost like there's no really comfortable way to actually hold the controllers. It's not a terrible design, I've just seen better, and it's odd that the controllers don't match the quality feeling of the headset. And if you're wondering about the tracking quality, don't worry, I'll get onto that soon. But first, I gotta rave about this head strap. I really love this strap, and Oculus, if you're watching, or really anybody, this is the best head strap I have ever used for a standalone headset. It's still portable and light and small, and the top strap is super stretchy and conforms to my head, while the larger strap provides actual support for the headset while not actually contacting my head much, completely eliminating the hot spot that most headsets have. While the back counterweight that just comes with the headset has a massive cushion that helps support the whole headset. This here takes the cake for head straps in terms of standalone, and I actually wish the Quest 2 shipped with this. And I hope that if a Quest Pro does happen, we get something like this, because I can wear it all day long. And I've only been using this headset for 30 hours or so, but this facial interface is similarly spectacular. It's soft, breathable, but stiff enough to still hold the headset against my face. Plus, I haven't seen any recent recalls due to face irritation for it. And there seems to be a much more powerful fan than the Quest 2 that has a weird side feature that I don't see listed anywhere. But due to the circulation of air, there's this very, very light draft that travels around my nose, and it's because of that fan and the vent, and it nearly completely gets rid of fogging lenses, and it keeps me cooler. I don't see this anywhere in the manual, so I'm not sure if this is actually a feature or not, but it's a great consequence. Now the technical details. Both headsets rock the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 chip, which has proven itself to be a pretty powerful beast for a bunch of different devices. I mean, with enough optimization, something like Walking Dead Saints and Sinners runs on a Quest 2, which is pretty darn impressive. But one of the biggest problems the Quest 2 has is it's purposely underclocked to run quiet with a very small cooling fan. John Carmack talked about this pretty extensively just last year. There's a lot of power that can still be had out of the chip if there was better cooling or the engineers let it run hotter. Well, I don't have access to clock speeds from either device, and the benchmark tool I was attempting to run on both headsets wasn't working as intended for the Pico, but based on what I see, the Pico should have a little more thermal headroom to squeeze out some extra performance, but that's purely based off of observation. Tracking was really impressive. I mean, I've tried out all sorts of inside-out tracking from HP, Acer, HTC, Oculus, of course, and it's really always a question, how good is the tracking? And I can easily say that the Neo 3 has very similar tracking to something like the Quest 2. The tracking cameras are likely the exact same cameras, the difference really comes down to how good the SLAM tracking algorithms are, and Pico did a good job here. Actually, playing games, I don't think someone new to VR could really tell the difference tracking-wise, which is a huge compliment. In terms of visuals, the headset looks pretty fantastic, but it has one big flaw. The resolution is great, it's just the same as the Quest 2, and it has some pretty impressive lenses that are noticeably different from the Quest. And while things look pretty fine in the headset, there is noticeable chromatic aberration around the lenses, leading to the very outsides of the display having a little color distortion, and high contrasting environments show this as well. However, pupil swim, or the distortion when looking around with just your eyeballs inside the headset, is minimal. The Neo 3 decidedly is a pleasant VR headset to look through. It's pretty sharp, has wide viewing angles, and the FOV is right on par with the Quest 2. Unfortunately, my eyes are just always drawn towards that chromatic aberration, but there's not really much I can do about it. Now, about actually using the thing. The software is really similar to the Quest, although noticeably lacking some of the polish. I think the really interesting part is when you actually look at the applications I have to choose from, and this is where this whole headset gets a lot more interesting. 11 table tennis, Hyperdash, Red Matter, audio trip? Wait, is this a Pico headset I'm using? And yes, it is. I generally side with developers on most things, and one of those things is diversifying their store presence in whatever place can make them money. Because in the end, everyone wins. People get good apps and games, developers get paid more because more people see their games, and having all their eggs in one Quest store basket isn't exactly optimal. And this is where the point of this headset is made. It is China's Quest 2. It's a really good headset in a place that doesn't allow the current king of good cheap headsets to be sold. And what Pico is doing isn't just building a headset for Asia and China. They're also building a competing app and game library with some of the best VR games available for the platform, allowing Western VR developers to hit an entirely new demographic that is supported technically and financially to make that happen. Just like how we have Oculus Studios, Pico has Pico Studios, and that app catalog is growing all the time. The biggest apps I haven't seen though are Oculus Studio apps, which makes total sense, and sadly that means no Beat Saber on the Pico. But that doesn't stop people from being resourceful in game design. I think my favorite part of testing the Pico is definitely the direct DisplayPort connection while playing PC VR games. While Oculus Link does something similar, it is compressed and latency is sometimes really noticeable. NVIDIA's direct mode practically prides itself on being native 4K at 90 Hz with low latency, leading to a pretty seamless PC VR experience as well. Games played well, really no complaints, and wireless streaming was alright. Although there was noticeably a lot more compression than the Quest 2, the actual latency was pretty acceptable and only barely perceivable, similar to Airlink and Virtual Desktop. In terms of wired mode, I give my stamp of approval, at least for the most part. This is a fully functional PC VR headset, but wireless could use some work. Although this could also be due to me having an older streamer app, since I'm technically not even supposed to have this in the US. But what Pico is really doing is helping spread the best of VR across the world. And that doesn't stop the question I know everyone is asking right now. Why is the Pico Neo 3 Asia only? Why can't Pico be the force to stand up against Facebook and release the Neo 3 to consumers worldwide? I mean, the price checks out, the quality of the headset checks out, it's got an app catalog, and of course, I asked Pico that exact question. Why Asia only? And this is the answer I received verbatim. Quote, simply put, our focus here in the West is on business right now. We haven't necessarily ruled out the possibility of opening up to consumers over here, but we have no plans at this time. Here in the West, we will be releasing pro models of the Neo 3 for our B2B business, end quote. And yeah, that's totally true. The Neo 3i and Neo 3 Pro are releasing in the West, and they are direct competition for the Quest 2, just not in the consumer segment. Right now in Europe and North America, VR is really making a huge impact for businesses, whether it be for communication, design, training. The applications are literally endless, and the big battle that is happening behind the scenes for who has the best in class and most affordable enterprise solution for VR is always raging. And while Neo 3 isn't quite the competition we want in the West for the Quest 2, it still kind of is that competition. Pico has historically always been a business-to-business, enterprise-focused XR company. But what they're doing right now is creating a division to help Western developers reach new users in an area of the world that is just as hungry for VR content as us over here. Whether or not a Western consumer launch for this headset or any in the future is actually going to happen, I have absolutely no clue. But it seems that there are no plans currently. But one thing is for sure, doesn't matter if you're in the US or in Europe or in China. The Pico Neo 3 is a testament to the fact that VR is quite global, and it's all good VR as well. I realize it's kind of weird to do a review style video on a headset that you can't buy, and it's also extremely similar to an existing headset we all know. But seeing what VR looks like through another region's lenses made me realize something really cool. It doesn't matter where you're at, or where you're from, or what your government is. A VR enthusiast is a VR enthusiast. It doesn't matter what your environment looks like. Once you put on the headset, we're all looking through the lenses at the same virtual world. And that's pretty beautiful. It's kind of what makes the Pico Neo 3 fascinating and odd. Virtually odd, that is. I want to say thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas like VR Champ, Nolan Brown, Benji, Biz, Bootsy Wootsy, MCPJ79, Debonair Fab, Biscuit, Destroyer Potato, Fur Trap, Fusion Oak, HCG Randon, Henry B, It's Lumi VR, Jonathan, KR, Lucid VR, Mud King, Pixel Thomas, Ridbo, Ronzarelli, That Brock Guy, The Omega Wolfster, and Very Evil Shadow. I couldn't do any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.